It's Tammye McDuff with These Curious Times Interviews, and we are here today at Holy Family Catholic Church in the city of Artesia to talk with Father John Cordero about a very unusual phenomenon. Welcome to our show, Father John. Or is it Father Cordero? Which one would you prefer?
It's up to you,
Okay.
Tammye.
So tell me about this phenomenon that happens to be on the sidewalk in front of your church and has been here for a few years.
Yes. It appeared, well, what I mean appeared is it manifested itself clearly on December the 12th. I think it's around 6 o'clock in the morning, right in front of the church. So what is the phenomenon? On the sidewalk, there was a parishioner, and this is based on our video footage from our security cameras, because we want to make sure that what we have seen is a naturally occurring phenomenon. It's not something that was created or painted. On the very day of the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, we celebrated the 5 o'clock a.m. Mass.
And that is what day?
Ah, oh well, check the internet. Probably
I
middle of...
want that on a
Yeah,
blooper.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. On that particular day, there was a family on their way out, and when the rest of the family walked around that particular puddle, there was I think the dad of the family stopped and saw something on the ground, and then he called his family, and then they started to marvel at what they had seen on the sidewalk. So it's an image on the puddle that looks uncannily like Our Lady of Guadalupe. Okay, so this was in the morning. So around that time, I was already back here in the rectory, and suddenly I received a lot of messages. Father, there is a crowd gathering outside the church. And when I came out, there were really a lot of people, because there by the sidewalk is a pattern that had formed on the puddle. You can see through the puddle. It was the water was clear, and you could see the familiar patterns of the rays of the sun, and there seems to be an outline of an image there. When people had taken photos of that, the colors really mimicked the colors of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
I did not know that part.
So you could see this in our Facebook page. You could maybe you could look back at the photos that were posted during that time.
Okay.
It was they came out. I think it was Telemundo. They came out with. Should I say that?
Sure. Yeah, you can say that.
They place a side by side image of Our Lady of Guadalupe and that phenomenon, and they look quite similar. It's not as if somebody painted it. My first impression was that since we had that feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, it was on the feast day.
Okay.
That one of the banners fell down on the puddle, and then maybe the waters ran, the colors started to run, and so it formed a pattern
Okay.
because there were colors.
Which would be sin.
Yes,
Sense,
that was
right?
well,
Yeah.
I was
You were trying
I
to
w-
find a reason.
yeah, I'm trying to explain it. Okay, we're trained not to jump to any spiritual or strange conclusions. It has to be it has to have a reason why it's there. So I would think that it is a naturally occurring phenomenon, because you could see along the sidewalks there are plenty of other similar patterns. So
Do you mean as far as having
maybe
the
you know
rays?
I think if there's a depression on a sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
then the water start to evaporate and recede.
Okay.
Then it will form those similar rays.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, you cannot predict what pattern will come out.
Right.
But this is uh, this looks like Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Okay.
So uh, then it suddenly had a life of its own. I did not do anything, but you have you have TV stations from all over. Then you have uh, mariachi bands serenading the Blessed Mother. Uh, then, for as a pastor, since I want to make sense of it, I said that okay, this phenomenon is a sign. I am not yet jumping to the conclusion that it is miraculous, but the fact that that it brings people closer to God, I call it a sign. Okay, a sign for me is something that points to a greater reality. So look at the symbolism of where we found it. It's along the pavement. It's on the sidewalk, which leads you to the church. For
And it was right in front of the life-size nativity scene too. Very
yes,
beginning.
yes, it was Christmas time.
Mhm.
Well, it was Advent season. I have to be technical about it. It's the Advent season, and uh, and it was there. It was where people congregate, and it leads you. Of course, the nativity scene opens up your vista into the bigger church. For, my explanation to my community is okay. For me, that is a sign. It's not a destination, right? Signs point to a greater reality. So that sign on the sidewalk points us to the greater reality of um, the the maternal love and protection of the Blessed Mother to the Church.
Well, why is the Lady of Guadalupe so important to the Catholic Church?
Ah, uh, when did that happen? It happened on the 16th century. The apparition happened around 1531.
Okay.
What happened during that time? It was the time when the old world was changing, especially for the Catholic Church. Um, Before, there is no in the West. There is just there's just the church. Then suddenly you have the Protestant Reformation, which divided Christian Europe into different camps. So even the Protestant Church has different forms of um, of Christianity. For example, uh, you have Calvinists, you have Lutherans, like that. But of course, it divided what was once Christendom. Now, all of a sudden, here in the New World, uh, you have this phenomenon. This now that is a miracle. That I think that should merit its own segment. Okay.
I believe you because I was actually fortunate enough to go to the parade that they did at Rose Hills for the Lady of Guadalupe painting, and it was a goosebump giving kind of event.
that
It was beautiful.
that you call it the tilma, which was I think it was the outer coat of Juan Diego, and in that particular tilma, where he placed flowers, I think he had seen the Blessed Mother, and the Blessed Mother appeared as a morena, not as a European person, but somebody who looked like the natives
Okay.
of Mexico.
Okay.
That's why when Our Lady's image was there in that was imprinted in that tilma, which has a story of its own. I will not dwell into that. It what you see are symbols of the culture of the indigenous people of Mexico, and it spoke to them. It spoke to them that they are that the Christian faith is not a faith only from an outside colonizer, but it's a sign that the Blessed Mother is mother of everyone, including the indigenous people of Mexico, and that is a message that was taken into heart. So in just a few years, 10 million Mexicans were baptized.
My, that's quite a lot.
Yeah. If you're looking at the stats, if you're doing world statistics, probably if you have X number of Catholics in Europe suddenly cut into half, then all of a sudden in this new world this happened, and and there are so many details in that particular image that really speaks of the sophistication of the image itself. It cannot be something that is simply created by someone. So I think this is something worthwhile to investigate. For example, that image seems to be the Blessed Mother looking at the very scene where the bishop had seen the image. So there is a mirror image of that scene in the eyeball of the Blessed Virgin.
Okay.
So you don't really, I don't think that any forger will go into that detail. So people are discovering the richness of the image that was formed in the tilma. So you call it a tilma.
Okay.
So it's a cloth. So the best representation of that particular image is, of course, that cloth, that two-dimensional cloth, which speaks to a three-dimensional reality, right? Of the things that are going on. And then the symbolisms are such that the indigenous people, I'm not sure if, I think it's the Aztecs.
Okay, wait a minute, stop. My nose, something's good to my nose. I'm sorry, the Aztecs. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Okay, good, the Aztecs.
Okay, there are symbols that are relevant culturally to the Aztecs. So that's why it's so significant.
Okay.
And it is this image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that made it very meaningful to all the peoples of the Americas.
Okay.
In fact, Our Lady of Guadalupe is also, I think, one of the. I'm a Filipino, and Our Lady of Guadalupe is also one of our the patroness also of the Philippines as well.
Now you said something that kind of struck a chord with me. You said that the original phenomenon happened because there was a change in how religion was going to be perceived. And now, do you think that this showed up in 2018 for the same reasons?
Okay. I will not read too much into it.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
If you're too close to the phenomenon, maybe there are things that we may miss out. Maybe as we take some distance, probably in both in time and in space, right? I think if you're too close to an image, then you see something different. But if you step back, and maybe we step back into the time, into the future, then maybe we can look back and yes, maybe we are in need of certain signs that point us to a greater reality, that there's something bigger than all of us, that we live in a world that is not only material, and the Lord speaks through nature. I call that a naturally occurring phenomenon. It can be explained, but of course, the patterns, the way it was built, can be explained by water over time. But that particular image, because people had shown me similar patterns, and I said, okay, it's similar, but they don't look like the Blessed Mother.
And the thing is that it is consistent for at least 2 years now. And I've even come back when it's been supposed to be dry and there's been no rain, and it's still there. I have seen it on several occasions.
Yes, and um, I I want to have a long-term study about that, but then the pandemic came.
Mm-hmm.
But I take my walks every night, and it never fails. There will always be someone in the middle of the night who would be parking beside it, and then will step down and pray consistently, and people will be coming from all over. In
What's
fact,
furthest?
well, at least from Southern California. Okay, uh, I I was at that particular time. I was taking I'm taking a doctorate right now in Fordham in New York, and I had a class immediately after that phenomenon. Maybe 2 weeks after I was in New York. Then in one of our classes, I spoke about it, and then one of those who was there, one of my classmates, was in charge of the Hispanic apostolate for the Archdiocese of New York. And he said, "That's your parish? We heard about it, and we were so inspired at what had happened." So it had a widespread widespread reach when it comes to that particular phenomenon. So I think as we look back in time, what I see, at least for now, is that it inspires people to think. And I said, and I would keep on repeating this particular uh, point of view, wherein it is a sign, a naturally occurring sign, uh, which points us to a greater reality. And of course, that greater reality is that, well, it points to the church. Technically, it leads you to the church. Maybe, I can venture into some hindsight right now.
Okay.
Well, it is a time wherein people uh, will be losing that opportunity to go to the church because of the pandemic. But then, even in those dark moments, um, now um, now things are getting better because the infection rates are going down, and people slowly can join in and have in-person services. But even in those moments wherein the church's doors were locked, people longed to connect with the church. That's why it's good that our church has a very active live stream service. So we were able to connect with people with their faith in very in fresh new ways. And that is probably like a foreshadowing that, okay, we have to, in times of darkness, uh, in times of despair, in times of confusion, maybe we can find solace and peace. And we look at the signs, and it leads us to a church. And at least for my people, okay? At least for the community.
Has the Archdiocese come out to see this?
Yes, of course.
And?
Um, uh, it's, I think it's still a time of observation for us. But the Archdiocese is very much aware.
Okay.
In fact, before I had that interview with Telemundo, I spoke with the Archdiocese, and then we crafted a message together. So what I'm saying is, generally speaking, is the stance of the Archdiocese, and then of the regional bishop had seen it already, and then immediately after that phenomenon, uh, I I called the regional office because the archdiocese is divided into pastoral regions. So um, our our bishop for the area is Bishop Mark Trudeau, and he sent uh, his assistant. Immediately was here. He he checked it. I called then I was asked to call the one in charge for the archdiocese for these special, extraordinary phenomenon. And he was, the way from my perception is, there must be something there. Because of course he sees all the way from probably Christ burned on a toast, right? Those
Right.
images and things that you see on a tree.
Christ in the screen of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
door, yes.
yeah. That's. But this has a different story, and it has it's clear, and then it's consistent, as you said, consistent in the image, and consistent also with the number of people that are inspired to come over, because it allows them to have some time to be connected to a higher reality.
Now, even though as beautiful as it is and as unusual as it is, it's not the only one on the sidewalk, is it?
Oh yes, yes, I know. But of course now,
You have a second. You have a
yeah,
second one
there's
that's
a
there.
like there's a. But of course, I uh, I am not focusing my attention on that.
Okay.
Uh,
Why?
well, I think that if it's going to be a sign, that's not. It's hard to have confusing signs,
Correct.
right? Too many signs might lead you to somewhere else.
Right.
So I am just focusing on that particular sign. Well, people will see what they want to see.
Right.
Okay. In fact, during that time, they would go to. There's an image of Our Lady of Fatima, who they said was also crying. I said no, that image is not crying. There is a there's a lamp inside there that produces heat, and then each image is coated in wax, and the heat melts the wax, and that drop that you see there is wax, not a tear.
Okay, so
So-
you could explain it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. As you can see, I'm not. I think this is mostly the stance of the church, right? The church will not readily jump into any. It's interestingly enough, the Catholic Church is a very science-based church as well.
And I can understand that, because if you just sort of jumped into everything as a sign, it could become almost superstitious.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Right.
That's why it it tends to what we do is try to keep it grounded.
Right.
So I'm not focusing on that other phenomenon, because of course I told you it's a naturally occurring phenomenon. Once you have a depression on the sidewalk, you will have similar patterns, and of course. There were others who were skeptical about it, showed me similar patterns in their own driveways. And they said, yes, you see that flow of water that goes into the center, that's why you see those rays. But that looks like I don't know if I'm infringing into copyright, looks like a Pokemon.
A Pokemon, okay.
Well, yeah, then they said, yeah, you're right. And it's so, I think it's best to take a picture of it with a puddle on a clear blue sky, with a clear blue sky, because the clear blue sky lends colors
Right.
to the image, and that's why we try to keep the image pristine. And just tell you that we don't do anything, but it's the fate of the people. They are the ones who would bring flowers. I only banned candles because people knock over
Right.
candles, and then it ruins the image. So, but people water it. If it's not raining, people pour water over it.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. Maybe just to keep, they just keep on watering the image. I don't know what's the purpose, but
They
well,
feel the need to do so.
they feel the need to do so, and people keep on coming. Even last night, I knew that you're going to interview me, And then when I pass by, where people are, families come, and they stay there and pray.
Now, have there been any noted miracles associated with it, such as someone comes to pray for a specific reason and then they have an occurrence?
Stories of faith.
Yes,
Stories of faith.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Uh, um, there are people who have certain problems and difficulties, and they spend time to pray, and their prayers were answered. Yes, that had happened.
What constitutes this to be more than just a natural phenomenon in the Catholic Church?
Okay. Now, if you're looking for something miraculous, then you enter into a new world of investigations wherein miracles have to be documented. Okay? It takes a lot of documentation for these things to happen. Things that are verified, and then you have to make sure that it is connected to that. For example, but as of my personal knowledge, we are not yet in that territory.
Okay.
But it is, as I repeat, it's a sign. It's a sign which leads you to a greater reality. And if that sign fulfills its purpose, then that, in a sense, is already miraculous, because we didn't put that sign there, right? So maybe let's put it with a miracle with a small m.
Okay. Like that. Have you in your career had anything else happen like this?
Wow. I'm not, well, there are, I have a lot of stories in my life wherein my particular devotion to the Blessed Mother would lead me to strange new things, strange things that are, strange miracles that would happen. And yes, I guess so.
So this is not new for you. This is the perfect place for you to be.
Well, I am both a natural skeptic, but I'm also open
Okay.
to God. I believe that God works into the world, but as I said, I'm not like that puppy in, I think, that movie Up, that sees a squirrel in every corner.
Yes. Yes.
But I have to make sure that if I see anything as a pathfinder for my community, I have to make sure that it's a clear path, rather than just hit and miss so many times that I will confuse my people.
So tell me what the next step is as far as this being acknowledged.
Okay, the first step. What are the next steps?
Yes.
We are planning, because right now that sidewalk is on city property,
Yes.
and those stanchions there that are forming that barricade over it, around that phenomenon, is something that confuses those who are not from the area. So they said, did someone die here?
And that's what someone would think to see the flowers and stuff.
Yes, the flowers.
Right.
But for years, that must be a well-loved person, right? But we are starting conversations with the city, wherein we will try to cut that slab
Okay.
and then transfer it into the property of the church. Maybe just, it's just about 4 feet away from the church property.
Okay.
So maybe we can place it on the church property side, so that at least we don't have to the faith does not encroach on public space.
What happens if it's just that spot and you pick up that slab? We can put this on or not, it depends. But and it changes because the light changes. And
Well, the sign has been there, right?
Okay.
It's like it was still a sign that fulfilled its purpose from 2018, right?
Okay, right.
It's still there. It's like I don't know if this is the proper analogy to it, but maybe we do keep memories of old signs,
Mm-hmm.
and it still connects you. It connects you to the event. It connects you to that time in 2018 when people gathered, and there was a time where people reconnected with uh, with their spiritual lives, right? It's still connected to that. Whether the image changes or not, it's still a sign. I don't think that it will that that piece of real estate will not lose its value, even though the external signs will be lost.
Okay.
The meaning is still there,
Okay.
and I think the meaning will live on.
Give me a little information about your church, and if someone is interested in joining.
Okay, the Holy Family Catholic Church is here in the city of Artesia, and um, geographically, we take care of the entire city of Artesia, most of Cerritos, and portions of Lakewood and Norwalk. So we are here uh, w- in smack in the middle of the city of Artesia, and we are um, like a couple of houses away from City Hall. So that's where the location is. We're along Clarkdale Avenue. Um, so Holy Family Catholic Church in Artesia. Now, the church is a multicultural church. So majority of the parishioners are of Filipino descent, uh, roughly maybe 80%. But we do have a rich mix of different communities. Uh, we have the Portuguese, we have the Hispanics, we have people from we have a lot of Chinese, um, particularly Chinese from Taiwan. Uh, we do have a lot of, since this is Artesia, which we're in. We have Little India about 2 blocks away. We do have a significant number also of South Asians. And we also have our older Euro Americans. We have the Dutch. Uh, we have the Germans. So it's a mixed community.
You also have a school.
Yes, we have Our Lady of Fatima School, which it's surprising that the name of the church and the school is different, which tells you about the history. This property was first for the school, since it's I think since it's a very Portuguese community, particularly Portuguese from the Azores. So we have a lot of them who are here, who are devoted to the Blessed Mother, Our Lady of Fatima.
Okay.
So that's why the school is named Our Lady of Fatima. And then this school, the church was, this is the second location of the parish church. So we have a school, Our Lady of Fatima School, from kindergarten, transitional kindergarten up to the 8th grade.
Okay.
And we just started with our in-person service, in-person classes yesterday.
And what about in-person services for the church?
Yes, we have. We're slowly getting to that. We now have about daily. We have daily 12-15 masses. Since we started, the church's capacity is about 1,000, but we keep it first at 100 when we were in the purple tier. Now that we are in the red tier, we'll open it to 150. But this is we are strict when we are distancing the people.
Right.
So we keep it. We're gonna open by tomorrow. No, well, tomorrow we only have a drive-in mass. For Sunday, we'll start opening the church for 150 people.
Okay.
But what we have is a drive-in mass.
A drive-in mass. And where's that held? Parking
No, at the you see this roof.
Yes.
On the backside of the church, the priest is standing on the roof celebrating mass there.
Okay.
And then we have.
And that's safe? He stands on the roof?
We're okay. I think the bishop who I was able to to trick into celebrating Master, use the adjective frightening. But he said it's okay. It's not that.
Okay.
He's just exaggerating. But we have a view of for 250 cars all around.
My goodness, that's quite a bit. I want to thank you so much, Father John, for letting us come in and talk to you about this phenomenon. And I really do like what you had to say, that it's a miracle with a small m. Everybody, come by and take a look, and it's a pathway, and it's a beautiful thing to see, and it will give you goosebumps. Thank you so much.
God bless you.